I am very, very excited to interview someone who, when I read her resume, you guys, it was like, she's my role model, all the way from Canada. When she said her name was Auntie Corina, for some reason in Hawaii, we always call people auntie when we're close to them. So I mistakenly thought Corina was from Hawaii because she called herself Auntie Corina. But Auntie Corina Hemming, I love her title. She says that she is a kid whisperer. Her superpower is to connect with children in a deep and intuitive level. So she'll be sharing that. She ran an in-home daycare for over 15 years, raised two amazing adult sons. We both share the special education field, and she's a published writer. I don't know about you, but I read Elephant Journal all the time. She's a writer for them, as well as medium.com. And this fall, she will be publishing, right, her first book. I would love to hear your 3 pillars of parenting philosophy. And she's been in summits, conventions, classes worldwide. So without further ado, here is Auntie Corina.
Hi,
Thank you so
everyone.
much.
I'm so glad to be here. This is so exciting. I love doing these. These are one of my favorite things to do because it's such a great way to connect as face-to-face as we can when you're all the way in Vancouver and you're all the way in Hawaii. So,
Yes.
so it took me about 30 years to come up with to really hone down my parenting philosophy. And there was a lot of trial and error, a lot of learning, a lot of reading, a lot of classes. And really it breaks down. When we break our parenting down, we overcomplicate it. So there's got to be a simpler way to do things. It's easier. That's not so overwhelming and like, oh my God, I got to do all these steps. And we don't have time. We're busy. We've got kids that are like rocketing around like, Mach 5, hair on fire, running with your lipstick down the hall. They don't run any faster when they grab something they're not supposed to. So what I finally did is I kind of sat down and I really thought about it. And from all these 83 kids that were registered through my daycare, I really clicked that kids, it breaks into 3 things: behavior, communication, and follow through. It's so simple. So it's like a tripod. And this is why there 3 try. This is why parents always say to me, nothing works. So if you only use 2 parts, it's not going to work. But if you use all 3 parts, they connect together to support each other. So you've got this surefire way to do it. So let's quick dive in. Behavior. 9 shots out of 10, it's not what you think it is. It can be childish, just being a little one. It could be defiance. It could be them asking you for something or needing you to recognize something for them that they don't have the words for. So kids, and if they aren't getting the attention they need from you, they will do whatever it takes. They will take negative attention, unfortunately, when really what they want is some positive attention. So they will do what they can to get their needs met. They are small. And I'm talking kind of like the 5, 6, 8 and under. And yes, your 8-year-old is still learning how to identify their emotions and how to express it verbally so you understand and they can convey it. So when you see your little one who's crying, you go, oh, you look sad. You're crying. And you can say, oh, you look angry. Oh, what's making you mad? Let's use our words. So you can start to identify the emotions, put the recognition with it, and then you can decide what you're going to do. So when you have a behavior, I go into one lane or the other. Defiance, childishness. Okay. Defiance doesn't get a negotiation. That's not cool. However, childishness and discipline for me is to guide and to teach. It's never angry. It's never punitive. It's never screaming and yelling. It's really an opportunity for you to show your child a better choice or to give them the choice that they can then accept the result of. So then we go into communication. How many times have you heard from the parents that you've worked with, my kids are deaf? They only hear me when I've locked all the doors and gotten the bag of chips under the pillow with 5 blankets on, and they can hear that. But when you tell them to go take out the trash, they're like, right?
Exactly.
So I teach people how to use communication that is so simple and so effective that your kids listen every single time. And I did that for years where I hate repeating myself. I'm ultimately extremely lazy, meaning I'm really efficient. I want it done. 1, 2, 3, done.
Yes.
Move on to do something more fun. So instead of yelling down the hall, which I call long distance parenting, I will get their attention and then tell them. I don't just throw it out there as part of the white noise of their life, because when you got really little kids, they really don't hear you if they're playing. They are in a whole new world that you are not a part of. So they'll hear the
Exactly.
right? And then when your kids are older, you know what it's like yourself. If you're playing a game or you're doing something on your computer, I always say this about my husband. I say he's not of this world when he's working, because he goes, uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. And I'm like, what did I say? He goes, yeah, I got that. But we all do it. So when you actually take the time and use these steps to get their attention, and then use the communication that isn't like verbose for them, and they're like with all these words, kids, you rarely have any issues. It's cleanup time. It's time to brush our teeth. It's time to put our coat on. 2 minutes to cleanup time. See, very short, very quick, and very understandable. The last thing I always teach is the follow through, which you must do if you want to be respected, listened to, and really looked at as that anchor that your kids need. They need you to be like the Rock of Gibraltar, because their world is really scary without you. And they flounder and they act up more and they tantrum more and they whine more and they cry more, because they are feeling too big in the, like too little in this really big world. So I love to use natural and logical consequences. And natural consequences are my absolute favorite, because I don't have to do anything. Mom, I'm hungry. Oh, you chose not to eat your breakfast. My tummy feels good. I don't really love my breakfast, but my tummy feels good. So we're going to have to wait till lunchtime. Sorry, you chose not to eat it. Natural. You don't eat it, that's fine. Your choice. If you choose to eat it, your tummy's full. Choose not to eat it, okay, that's fine. No fighting over it. That's your choice. Moving on, which I love, because rarely you just can kind of remind them, do you remember last time I know you didn't really like your breakfast, but you chose not to eat it. You might want to, do you remember that? Okay, I'll leave you to decide what you're going to do. Kids love that. Even 3-year-olds and 2-year-olds. You want to choose to be hungry, you're going to choose to eat. Click,
and no lecturing involved, right? You don't have to lecture.
Never. I never lecture.
Yeah, that is
That
amazing.
is a waste of breath. Yeah. And the last thing to get into is logical consequences. Now, logical consequences are the result, and a parent puts it on the child. For example, they're throwing a toy. How many times have your kids thrown toys? Like zillions, right? Instead of stop throwing that, you go, use the communication, because you're identifying the behavior, right? It's being childish. You're going to use your communication. Toys are for playing, not for throwing. If you choose to throw, I'll put the toy away. Boom. They have a choice. The logical result is then I take the toy away if they throw it, and I put it up where they can see it. And the kids get really upset. I'm like, that toy is really sad that you kept throwing it when it just wanted to be played with. So he needs to go and have a rest. And when your hands are going to be gentler, so you don't make it the child's fault, when your hands are going to be kinder, then you have it back. And it's a great way to teach children about their body, how to control it, identify their emotions. It puts it all together in this beautiful package that we want our kids to have as adults, because we're not raising kids. You are raising adults. And when you keep that in mind, it changes. So that's the brunt of it, really.
Well, you know what I love? That you are not blaming the child, right?
Never.
You just said, and I think a lot of it, you hear parents saying, oh my gosh, if your brain wasn't in your head, you couldn't think, or you know what, why are you, how many times have I told you, aren't you listening? Why can't you be, and essentially saying, why are you being incompetent? And whenever any of us are blamed,
yeah,
the wall's going to shut, and you're going to not even want to be in your parents' presence, right?
And I love that when we use natural and logical consequences, it allows our children to experience their choices. the not being successful, the failing, the falling off, the getting back on, the problem solving. Because today I feel that we've bubble wrapped everybody to the point now we're putting them out in the world and they're completely ill-equipped to be able to deal with the harsh reality of day-to-day life. Because we haven't allowed them to, for example, fall off a toy. That wasn't a good idea. If I jam it in and fix it, I can go and do it again. But I got it, I figured it out. But if we're always rushing to fix everything for our kids, do we want them to scuff their knees? No. Do we want them to kind of fall down? No. Are they gonna die? No. Chances are they're not gonna do it again. You know, and it's not about letting your kid play with electrical wires and water, okay? Like that's silly, don't do that. But allowing them to knock over their milk because they didn't put it in a safe spot. Oh, now your milk is gone and we have to clean it up. You have to clean it up. We're teaching them that there's a reason and that we can set ourselves up for success. And I work with mompreneurs and I talk about parenting like you work with your clients. You set your kids up for success the way you do with your clients. You tell them what's going to happen, what the expectation is, what the result is, and when it's going to happen. Same thing with your kids. It's stupid simple. I know it. People look at me all the time and go, "That's it." I'm like, "Yeah, that's it."
Well, because you don't think about that. Like you said, we do tend to overcomplicate it. We analyze, like, oh, and then what we do is worry, right? Oh my gosh, when they might be like 8. Well, when they're 30, what if they get fired? What if, and then you fill in the most negative scenario, and then you feel like your child's a failure, which means you're a failure.
If they get fired, what did they not do that got them to that position? Did they not, like, what choices did they make to put themselves in that position? That's how I would look at it. We give our children all the tools we possibly can, and what they do with it after that is their choice. It's no longer a reflection of you. I don't believe in mom guilt. I think it's the biggest load of bologna sandwiches that's out there. It does nothing but negate you. It does nothing but make you second guess, and it makes so much noise in your ears that you can't hear your own intuition, your own mom radar. So when I work with my clients, we dampen that and get rid of it so that we can tune up that intuition, that mom got that, I can smell they're up to something, what a little stinker's doing, right? And you just know when something's not quite right, and you can deal with it when it's this big rather than listening to all this racket and you have to deal with it when it's that big. Oh, that's too much work.
Any tips on how to release mom guilt? I know I'm guilty of that.
Oh, I'll give you one of my guilt. The best one. When I hear it in my head, I use my very best Auntie Corina. I am taking no nonsense. Excuse me, you do not backtalk me and you do not call your friends out. Thank you very much. Or your best mom voice, and you tell that voice, you may not speak to me like that. That is not acceptable. And if you can't say anything nice, off you go.
I love it.
It's so simple and it works. It works. Every mom that I have taught this, plus all the other stuff that goes with that, has said, oh my gosh, I could breathe. I wasn't hearing that critical voice in my head and I started to hear me. I'm like, yes.
Well, I think we know that, I mean, my whole thing is don't believe every negative thought, but saying it out loud and telling that voice, you know what, not today, I'm not doing this. And I actually said, but you know what, I guess, you know how sometimes we teach and then we don't actually practice. And I was just telling someone that it was a 5, you just say, you know what, no, I am not going to believe that thought is there. And our brain naturally, right, gravitates towards the negative. But then when it happens to me, it's like, if you don't watch it and you're not aware right that second, you do go down that rabbit hole. And then before you know it.
So when I teach this, I don't just say to make it quiet and go away. What you're doing is you're quietening it, that voice, and putting it away so that you can address it in a different set of eyes, a positive set of, that isn't true. I really am a good mom. I am there doing that homework. I am, I play with them. I walk them to school. I am a good mom. Just because I work at home, I'm providing for my family. This is good. So we can look at that and reframe it so that we're not being so stinking hard on ourselves.
What about handling, what about handling things that you wish you hadn't have said or done, out of right when you're in the midst of anger, you might have said something and then you realize I shouldn't have said that. And sometimes it's years later, when you're like, my daughter said, Mom, I didn't realize that. And I guess I didn't realize I said it that many times. I would say something like, you know what, I don't even know if I'm going to be here when you guys are, after school, because no, I just can't do this. And then she believed it. Every time she believed it, and I felt so much guilt. I apologized for it because we all feel that way, but how do you rectify or correct that when you've said mean things or things that you wish you hadn't have said?
What I do is I teach parents, I teach my moms that it's okay to make mistakes. If you've not permanently damaged your child forever, that they will never recover from. You already did that when you said they had to have the green cup, not the red cup. Okay.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
It was done long ago, so you're good. Okay. You're done. You're off the hook.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So you aren't going to destroy your child's self-esteem and scar them forever. What you do is you're showing them that we make mistakes and that we can say, hey, I really thought about, let's say you're going to give them, you decide you're going to take away their tablet for a month, which is, that's part of my philosophy. You don't do that. You got to connect there. It makes no sense. And you can come back to your kids and say, you know what? I've been really thinking about what I said, and I realized that is not really what I intended, or I don't really like what I said. So this is what we're going to do. It leaves you with still that loving authority that they need, but you're also letting them know you aren't perfect and that you too can learn, make mistakes, and move forward in a positive way. That's really important. Try not to use it all the time. Keep it sprinkled throughout your years. I think I did it with my boys in 30 years, 3 times.
Wow.
And that because sometimes I made little mistakes, but I'm not going to apologize for everything. Just like you wouldn't want somebody constantly, your boss constantly apologizing to you. You kind of look at them like, the fork?
Yeah.
Pardon me? So it's not that you are perfect. But I really want you to hear this, if you hear nothing else today, that you are doing the very best you can with what you've got at that point in time. And that's it. Use what you've got. It is, you have taken all your information, your experience, and you're doing the best you can. Doesn't make you good, doesn't make you bad. It just means that's where you were at that point in time. You may come up against a similar situation 5 years later, but you're going to be in a different place. So don't look back at what you did and go, oh, I wish I hadn't done that. No, you did your best. Good on you. And you've learned. Right on. Moving forward.
Well, because I think a lot of us get stuck in the past, especially if your child keeps bringing it up. You think, oh my gosh, remember when I was 10, remember when I was 8. But I love what you just described it as loving authority. Talk about, when you think about authority, very few people can see it as loving. Can you explain that? Because some people might say, loving authority. How do I even?
Oh, okay. So there's a little story here, which is so much fun. When I was in psychology class back in college, way back in the day, when it wasn't, it was still college in Canada. And I was in this class and they talked about this, powers that be that were so smart about kids, psychologists and psychiatrists and all that good stuff. And they saw these kids playing in a playground with this big fence. And the kids were like shoving against the fence and yelling, screaming, and playing, woohoo, and doing this on the fence. And they thought, oh, these guys need more room. So they took the fence away. They came back the next day and they expect to see the same thing. But what they saw were these kids huddled in the center, not playing a lot, kind of like not sure. So what they did is they took away the boundary, the fence that, kids say, oh, it's checking. They're always trying to see if the rules are still there. They took that away, which makes them feel unsafe. It's too big. It's too much. It makes them scared, makes them unsure. It keeps them from being the children and having the experiences they need to grow and learn to become the adults we like them to be. So when you give this firm, loving boundary of authority and what you say, this is what we're going to clean up our toys, then we're going to have snack, and then we're going to go for a walk. That's loving authority. It's telling your kids and giving them that structure, that fence that will flex and grow with them in an age-appropriate manner. And it's so good. My daycare parents used to come in and say, how do you do it with 7 kids all day? And they're always playing nicely. They are never screaming and yelling. There is never mayhem. There's never chaos. I said, because I tell them exactly what I want, exactly what I need, and then I allow them the space to choose. And then I follow through in an appropriate manner after that. I really like how you were sharing with your friend. Oh, that's so nice. Job. Love it, right? Or, oh, that wasn't a good choice, was it? No. Yeah. What could you do next time? Give them a turn. Okay. Go try again, right? So when we start really, really small and we build on these things, listen, works with your clients, works with your husbands, works with your significant others. Everything I'm talking about here is completely translatable to any relationship you have, which is unexpected for me to hear back from so many of my clients saying, oh my gosh, my relationships and the rest of my life are so much better. Because we talk about that as women. We need to set our boundaries. We need to self-care. We need to be, set our limits, say, don't be afraid to say no. This is how you start it. From your
When then we
parenting.
create children who will follow through as an adult and know how to.
That creates a legacy.
Yes.
That goes on and on. And if we get enough people doing that, it will start to help heal our society to become more cohesive, to be more accepting, less judgmental, more supportive, instead of saying, oh, look at that child, or oh, that mom put her hand on her daughter's shoulder and waggled her finger when her daughter bit her little brother, for example. They'll be going, well, that's what happens when you choose to not listen to your mommy. And this is not abuse, okay? I am not talking abuse. Abuse is no. But standing there really in a strong, firm voice telling you, you may not hit your brother. Body to yourself. You will sit here and think about that for 2 minutes because you're 2 years old, or 5 minutes because you're 5 years old. And then you come back and you discuss why. There is nothing wrong with that firm authority, that loving authority. Kids need it. Our society would be a mess without that. So let's teach it to our children. They are so much happier, so much calmer. They're amazing. They make you fall in love with being a parent. And you don't get that, hey, all that Hallmark stuff and all those Hallmark moments you put on cards, like that's not what being a mom is, you lied.
Exactly. And that's what a lot of moms are saying. They're like, wait a minute, what happened? I wanted to be a mom so desperately. It is nothing like I imagined, right? You just think they're going to not be the child that right?
Went through it.
Sometimes it's like, you're, yeah. But then you don't realize, like you said, but I love how you just put it as it can be very simple. And I think a lot of the parents, and I'm sure do you agree that you're just missing one of the components?
You are.
Like we communicate, what do you say? And sometimes we do the behavior, and then we end up like lecturing, or we end up maybe doing too much of a harsh discipline judgment, which means the child ends up feeling the way that you're saying it. It works because you are not putting the blame on the child. And once you don't make them feel incompetent or that it was their fault that they fill in the blank, I mean, it changes the whole parenting experience.
It does. And when you start using consequences or the the logical consequences, you throw the toy goes away. You don't eat, you're hungry. What it does is it teaches them to kind of go, and when you make them connect, like not eating makes you hungry, throwing a toy means the toy goes away, they start going, wait a minute, my behavior made this. I did this and this happened. Instead of like, you threw the toy, you're not having any toys for the rest of your life. Like these anti-threats that kids just look at you like, what? You're so full of banana sandwiches, and they don't show respect for you. Whatever you say, they're just like, fuck the hand, and they're running off into the street, and they're yanking stuff off of shelves, and you're just like, oh my God, I can't believe I can never take my kids anywhere. Connect the behavior to the consequence, make it a tight connection, and you'll have so many less issues. It's like magical. I've seen moms with, as she called it, feral kids. She goes,
I love that feral
she calls them feral, and I adore her. We've become quite good friends. She goes, they would be up till 11 or 12 at night. They wouldn't sleep without melatonin. They were like 5 and 9. They would be like writing on the walls. They'd be like wiping their face with yogurt on stuff. She couldn't work on her business. She was falling behind. I worked with her just for a week, and she's like, they go to bed on time. They don't get up at night. They ask permission to do stuff. She goes, I can sit down. They know what's going to expect. I can work on my business without my blood pressure going through the roof. She goes, it's like, who are these? Who did a body? Like, was there a body snatcher? Like, she's just like, I can't believe that just doing a few little things made that massive of a difference. And it happens to me all the time. All the time.
Wow. So how can people reach you?
Oh, I'm so easy to find. I'm stinking everywhere. But the best place is to find me on Facebook and under Corina Taylor. I got married.
Oh, congratulations.
Thanks.
So I introduced you as Hemming.
That's okay. I go by both, but Corina Taylor, and you'll see my mug on my profile. You can also just type in Auntie, AUNTIE, Corina, and you'll find me. So I'm all over Facebook and Instagram and others, but that's the easiest place. And you can then, start to talk to me about working with me. And I have programs that I've set up that are pretty darn amazing, if I say so myself.
That's amazing. I am so glad I discovered you, and I thank you so much for your time and your just words of wisdom. I mean, I wanted to have someone to remind parents that it does not have to be such a torturous, like sometimes you think, why? And then what some parents are telling me is that it never ends, right? Because then they become a grandparent, and someone told me that, Karen, it never ends. I'm like, really? She goes, yeah, I have a 40-something-year-old. I have a this. And I'm like thinking, oh my gosh, that sounds so, but you are here to remind us.
Yeah, and that, you know what, when you do these things, you know what the real cool part about all this is? You spend more time loving and enjoying your kids, building that deep, deep connection that will last like for the rest of your lives. You will laugh more. Oh my gosh, I don't know how many times I've gone on calls and there've been giggles in the background, which I'd never heard before. So you can have more fun with your kids because they know where the fence is. It's amazing. I love it. I love it.
Great analogy about the fence, because I think that's what happens. We just do too much of, you know what? You need to do it this way because, and then we wonder why it doesn't work because we think, I think parenting does have to be.
Fence. It has give, but it's still there.
That's the secret. I mean, parenting needs to be revolutionized because it cannot be the way it was. But I think many of us who were parented the way that they did, and they're like, I turned out fine, and they need to know who's boss. They need to know, and you just think, I mean, there's so many. I mean, you're proof of what can happen, and that you can enjoy parenting. I mean, if anything, because some of us can't. It's like, no, oh my gosh, I'm going to be miserable for the rest of my life. And I have someone in their early 30s thinking that she believed, because of the way that she was raised and the abuse, that once, and her mom said this, once you become a parent, your life ends. And I thought, oh my gosh, no wonder she's debating. I don't know. I don't know whether I should, because I want to have a career, and I know that I can't. And I mean, we are able to, during this day, that we're living, we can't have it all. We just need to know how to navigate, and like you said, how to raise children who aren't feral. We'll end it there. It is possible. I love that. It is possible to enjoy children and maybe transform them from being feral to being domesticated.
Fabulous.
Fabulous. Well, I would love to have a conversation later, but I truly, truly enjoyed this, and I thank you so much, Corina. You guys, you have to find her on Instagram, on her website. If anything, just look at her Instagram posts and just her message. Your message gives parents hope, and that's
Yeah.
amazing. Well, you enjoy your time today, and we are definitely going to have to connect.
I think so.
Such an inspiration. I'm going to be like you one day.
Better, there only needs to be one of me, but we'll have, better is that you be the best you can be.
Yes, I'll be the best me. Okay, thanks, Corina. Take care. Bye.
Take care. Bye.